The Martians have landed. Prepare to die, Earthscum!
Aliens trying to invade Earth on Halloween? That feels more like an Arbor Day sort of thing. Spaced Invaders, not to be confused with the Atari game Space Invaders, because trust me, if you get on Atari's bad side, they'll have no problem dropping a lawsuit on you, because they are huge piles of shit. Spaced Invaders is a 1990 alien invader Halloween children's film brought to us by the fine folks at Disney. Though it was released under their Touchstone label, because I guess Martians coming to Earth and trying to destroy all of humanity didn't exactly mesh with Disney's squeaky clean image. Well, so much for that, I guess. The film follows a crew of aliens who mistake a rebroadcasting of Orson Welles' War of the Worlds as a distress signal and sign that maybe it's time to kick some Earthling butt. Fortunately for all of humanity, these men from space are complete imbeciles.
He keeps trying to put Tabby into slot B.
Introducing Ariana Richards, well sure I guess if you ignore all those other things she did before Spaced Invaders, were then dropped into a Battlestar Galactica ripoff as giant space turds are doing something.
I'll not send my boys out to Arcturus with an enforcer drone breathing down my neck.
Use our new off-ramp. I'm sure that won't come up later in the movie. You know, I don't know much about Illinois, but does it usually have palm trees? Okay, so there's a new sheriff in the town of good old Big Bean, Illinois. And like in a lot of 90s kids movies, there's of course a villainous rich guy who's trying to take some old man's farm. And you know he's a bad guy because of his cowboy hat and what I assume are snakeskin boots. Although, is it really Klemmbecker's fault that old man Wrenchmuller took out a loan he couldn't pay back? I do enjoy how the old man casually looks for shotgun shells right in front of the sheriff. What does he think he's gonna do? This movie goes the typical Disney route of having the mother of our lead dead, because we can't have a complete loving family in a Disney movie now, can we? Sam and Kathy moved out to basically the middle of nowhere, which is always a great thing to do when your young daughter just lost her mother and has no friends.
I'm just not sure Big Bean is ready for aliens.
Oh, get it? She's dressed as an alien, and aliens might be making a stop there soon. Don't worry, the film goes out of its way to make sure you know that aliens will be in the movie. The local radio station decides to play the War of the Worlds for Halloween, and is strangely named WELZ, or Wells. I don't know what Wells has to do with War of the Worlds. The aliens pick up on the broadcast, thinking it's a distress call, so you can guess where they're headed.
I'm probably the only alien for 1 billion miles.
See, the movie is a little on the nose with the incoming aliens. Deputy Russell then starts filming himself doing his job, which I'm pretty sure makes him the very first influencer.
Nobody gets away with going 3,000 miles per hour in a 55 mile an hour.
How many demerit points do you get for driving 3,000 in a 50? The aliens then crash land in Wrenchmuller's barn, and the thing you'll notice right away is how different each of the Martians speak. One has an almost East Indian accent, another sounds almost German, but the one that I remember the most from my childhood is the Martian doing his best Jack Nicholson impression.
We got a torqued out diaphragm, our mega spaz redundancy pile is on the blink.
In fact, it's the Jack Nicholson alien and this kid's duck costume that always comes to mind when I think about this movie. Anyways, the aliens are morons and believe that destroying the Earth was their real battle plan, not doing whatever it was they were doing with the space turds.
You got work to do.
Somehow a paper from the 1950s has an image of the Martians in their exact same outfits. Figure that one out. They also have some cute little drone thing, which I would bet the house they were gonna merchandise if this movie were a hit.
Merchandising.
Poor Kathy has no friends, but what she does have is a badass alien costume. I feel like I too would have had a cool alien costume at that age, if I had any artistic ability that is, although it does seem to fall apart rather easily.
Where's your mom? She died last May.
Disney killed her. It was in the movie's contract. What I don't get is how trusting Sam is with a random woman he doesn't know taking his kid out trick-or-treating. I get that it's a small town and he's the sheriff, but still, this woman could be a serial killer. The Martians then get mistaken for trick-or-treaters because landing on Halloween is the one night of the year that I don't think people would immediately think invasion. Captain Bipto, who got separated from the others after getting run over by Klemmbecker, turns an unwilling gas station attendant into his loyal servant. But where did he get this sweet robot dinosaur?
What?
Trick or treat!
Yeah, for God.
Is Clem Becker supposed to be a knockoff Hulk Hogan? Because he sure looks like a knockoff Hulk Hogan. I love the pin-up Martian woman on the side of their ship. Wrench Mueller is doing whatever he can to combat these Martian invaders, although it was his dog Jim who came up with the plan. Am I the only one who finds it really funny when dogs have people names?
Will you please sit down and be quiet?
Or perhaps in your case, a whole loaf of toast.
You know, you can threaten to blow up Earth as much as you'd like,
Prepare to die, Earth scum!
but as soon as you start with the fat jokes, it's over, mister. Kathy quickly realizes that the Martians are real and that they've come to Earth on a mission of conquest. Although so far all they've done is gone trick-or-treating and get hit by a car. The deputy discovers the crashed alien ship, and it looks like he could use a little SPF 20,000. I like that he's not so much concerned that he's dealing with an alien, but the fact that they flew nearly 3,000 miles over the speed limit.
Getting dog spit all over it. Hit a boy.
Wait, how's the dog loading the camera? The deputy stupidly gets taken out by the old man's trap, leaving Blasny here to continue work on the ship. Though he quickly discovers the distress signal they picked up was in fact just a radio show and that they really screwed up. They screwed up so much that the Enforcer drone is now set out to kill all of them. Wrench Mueller and the deputy bring the body of Blasny to the townsfolk, but when they go to check on the Martian, he's already gone. Luckily, Sam shows up to confirm the wild story after having watched the tape recording from the deputy's camera. Although I have to call nonsense, because since when does footage of UFOs look this good? The townsfolk are quickly riled up in finding these spacemen, but this lady should probably stay out of it. Does she not know what happens to red shirts? Duck Boy finds the runaway Blasny and tries to get the sheriff's attention, but I think they've got bigger things to deal with. Luckily, a young Sam Wilson is under that duck costume.
We don't even know where they are.
They're not exactly subtle now, are they? The Martians give their typical, "You're all gonna die. We're here to conquer you," yada yada yada. Then they do the unthinkable when they blow up the town's new off-ramp, which I did not see coming. While the townsfolk scramble to battle these Martians, they decide to attack the town's missile silo with what looks to be a proton stream. Seriously, is this not what the Ghostbusters use? We then cut to the hillbillies from Halloween Part 4 for some reason.
It's been booby-trapped!
And we're the boobies.
Ooh, nothing worse than when your silo prematurely pops. The little drone shows Kathy on the map where the alien spaceship crash landed, but how the hell does she know the town so well when she just moved there? I've lived in my city for half of my life and I still don't know half of it. The aliens make their way to the radio station thinking it's where the battle is supposed to be and quickly learn that they're all just morons.
Guys, get a load of this!
One of the Martians activates a distress beacon which causes the semi-repaired ship to sort of hop around until it eventually finds them. The townsfolk arrive and just start firing away, and honestly I wouldn't have expected any less of them. The Martians then attempt to kill all the humans with the Donut of Destruction, which sounds like something you'd have in the morning to help clean out your colon. Instead, it sort of just falls apart because these guys can't do anything right.
I suppose you have a pretty good explanation as to what you were doing riding around in an alien spacecraft?
I don't know why he's getting upset with his daughter. He's the one who put her with a woman who couldn't tell that she had real Martians in her car.
But Dad, they're not really bad. They're just stupid.
She's right about the stupid part, but they have been trying to destroy humanity this whole time. I don't think that makes them good. Well, maybe a little good.
And the plebes and the fuzzy mugs play.
Oh great, they sing too! The Martians quickly realize that unless they get their ship back into space, it's going to explode into a black hole or something, which is really going to put a damper on Halloween. They manage to get the ship and everyone else back to the barn because Old Man Wrenchmuller has a plan to get them back into space, which involves dynamite. Generally, I don't think dynamite has space exploration properties, but what do I know? Although before they can launch, they're interrupted by the Enforcer drone who's been MIA for a good chunk of the movie. They manage to talk their way back onto the ship by basically threatening the Enforcer drone with a wage cut if Earth, and by extension Mars, are swallowed by this dimensional rift, though the Enforcer drone still plans on killing them anyways once they reach outer space. Wrenchmuller decides to reward the Enforcer drone for taking care of the Martians by giving it a stick of dynamite, though I guess it's not just the Martians that are complete idiots.
You can just say your prayers.
The Martians finally get launched into space, but it becomes quickly apparent that the ship is too heavy. So they pull a Cousin Eddie and empty the sewage tank all over the old man's field. The following morning, Klembecker pulls up to take Wrenchmuller's farm, but all that alien poop turned the old man's field into giant green beans, which means the farm is saved, I guess. Although, are these really safe to eat? These things have to be pulsating with radiation. Imagine you go to eat one and then your hair and teeth start falling out. Spaced Invaders is a very strange movie from my childhood. I probably haven't seen this movie in 30 years and it's a lot different than I remembered. The only thing I really remembered was the alien that talked like Jack Nicholson, the kid in the duck costume, and the fact that it takes place on Halloween. As an adult, I don't know if this movie holds up as well as when I was younger. It's not a super long movie at about 95 minutes, but it honestly felt a lot longer than that. I'm not sure what it was, but I think a lot of the humor just doesn't really land anymore. There's some clever stuff throughout and things that I can point to as being funny, but I think this is an example of something that really is tailor-made for a younger audience. My favorite part of the movie is actually a little sequence where War of the Worlds is playing over footage of the townsfolk going about their night. It's not anything creepy or funny, but it has this nice Halloween-y sort of mood to the whole thing. I could actually watch an entire movie of just that. The aliens are pretty great, the costumes are really well done, and the animatronics look good for the most part. What's interesting is the actors playing the aliens were pretty much blind, so if their performances look a little exaggerated, there's a reason for it. The film came about because of a young effects artist named Patrick Reed Johnson, who had worked under 2001 A Space Odyssey legend Douglas Trumbull, decided he wanted to make a movie of his own. The result was a script called Martians. Yes, 3 exclamation points because subtlety is for Earthlings. He co-wrote it with Scott Alexander, who would later go on to co-write Ed Wood and The People vs. Larry Flint. Not bad company for a story about space goofballs invading Illinois. According to Johnson, the idea came together shockingly fast. He pitched the movie to Smart Egg Pictures, the same folks who helped bring Warlock to life, and they basically said, sure, we'll put the money in the bank tomorrow. Production began in November 1988 around Los Angeles, which was doubling for small-town Illinois, and it wrapped just before Christmas. Johnson wanted his Martians to be menacing but lovable, which is a fine line between E.T. and Gremlins, and you can definitely see both influences on screen. Each alien was an animatronic wonder with about 16 servo motors packed into its head, and it took 4 operators to bring each one to life. Johnson based each alien's personality on pop culture icons. Captain Bipto was the self-important leader, part Captain Kirk, part malfunctioning Alexa. Dr. Ziploc was the Carl Sagan of the group, complete with Senso goggles. Blasny had Nicholson's grin and a Lakers t-shirt, and was the only Martian in the movie to be played by and voiced by the same person, actor Kevin Thompson, who also played an Ewok in Return of the Jedi, and one of the aliens at the beginning of Night of the Creeps. Honestly though, if the movie were made today, all the Martians would be played by Peter Dinklage, because that guy really loved kicking that ladder from underneath himself once he became a big Hollywood success. The special effects team went all in. They built a full-scale Martian spacecraft modeled after a B-17 bomber, complete with a Martian pinup stenciled on the nose. ILM's John Knoll helped with the opening battlecruiser sequence, blending miniatures and motion control to give the movie a proper space opera vibe before the goofiness kicked in. Meanwhile, production designer Tony Tremblay, who worked on Rambo 3 and Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4, built all sorts of absurd Martian tech, including the Hovervid drone, the Farmaroo, a giant alien tractor, and the Giggy-Wig, although I'm not sure if half of these things even have the same names in the movie, or are even in the movie, since a lot of this info comes from interviews that came out long before the movie even released. And you know how much things can change before a movie comes out. The film's tone, according to Johnson, was meant to be warm-hearted, like Gremlins but without the mean streak. He said people were getting killed in Gremlins and people were laughing. He wanted Martians to be silly fun but not mean-spirited. The movie wrapped on a $2 million budget, though early reports claimed it might have been closer to $5 million. Whatever the truth, the end result was impressive for a production that only lasted 5 weeks and featured over 200 visual effects shots. And here's where things get interesting. Steven Spielberg got wind of the project and liked what he saw. He recommended it to Walt Disney Pictures, who bought it at the end of 1989, retitled it to Spaced Invaders, and planned a wide release for spring of 1990. And if anyone knows anything about movies featuring aliens, it's Steven Spielberg. In fact, there's a little reference to his 1977 movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. When it finally hit theaters, critics weren't exactly beaming up praise. Get it? Tractor beam? Aliens? You don't get it. The Chicago Sun-Times called it almost appallingly unwatchable, which might be a little harsh, but audiences were curious. The movie opened with $4.7 million and eventually grossed over $14 million. Not bad for a Halloween-themed alien comedy with a title that sounds like a weed strain. In the end, Spaced Invaders never became the franchise Smart Egg hoped for, but it remains a charming relic of late 80s practical effects, Halloween nostalgia, and the kind of genuine weirdness that Disney used to take a chance on. It's a movie where Jack Nicholson-sounding aliens invade a small town because of War of the Worlds, and honestly, that's the kind of creativity we need more of. Maybe it's not exactly out of this world amazing, but I think if you have some kids and want to watch something a little lighthearted for the Halloween season, I really don't think you can go wrong with this. But what about you? Have you seen Spaced Invaders? And if so, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you're having a great Spooktober and stay spooky! Huge thanks to all my channel members for helping keep this mothership flying. You guys are the real cosmic crew behind JB's Spooky Review. And if you'd like to join the invasion, you can hit that join button below. Totally optional, but your support does help keep the lights on in this UFO.